have a clear understanding what it is. Economic, we know is money. So before that, I want to give out these guided notes. You want to take down some notes. I'm going to keep them in a folder that I'll give you at the end of class. Keep you organized for the next 5 days. So you're going to have anyone else have the guided, don't have the guided notes? We don't have them. Good. So I want you to take for now. When we go to economic political, just write down the definition. If you need to write down the Spanish cognate and synonyms, you could do that if needed. But mandatory is just the definition. Economic is how societies use resources to produce, distribute, or consume in order to satisfy what people want or need. Needs. So what that really means is that um, we have resources, right? Economics basically explains how we use our resources to the best way that makes everyone happy. And most of the time, it deals with money. How do we spend money with? So that's how countries deal with economics. How do they spend their money resources in a way that is beneficial to everyone or to them? You know, everyone have write the definition down. Let me know when you're all done. Whatever you miss, you can copy from your classmates. Can I move to the next slide? Political. Is related to government and governance of public issues. So basically about the organization of law. Anything that deals with how people use law to um, govern people. That's what political is. You know when you're done, because I believe then we'll transition to our next part. Everyone done? I'll move on. So basically, what you guys answered the warm up is true. We all know that. But the next part is the more interesting part. Before we go to the Treaty of Versailles and what it is, I want you guys to look at this. Just look at this. This is the cost of World War One. So the Allied powers altogether use a money of about $125 million. And according to Mr. A class earlier class, you said this is adjusted to current inflation. Billions. Billions. And that is the cost in dollars of the money used by the Central Powers, the party that lost. About 60 billion, 60 billion. So you guys can see this is a huge amount, right? How much war costs. Not to mention, in your imagination, the loss of resources, buildings being damaged, facilities, infrastructure being damaged. So what you should, when you look at this and understand the damage that the war makes, you guys should understand, should try to imagine right now how devastating a war is, especially World War One, the first ever, what they would call the first ever total war. This is the casualties of World War One. On this website that Mr. Aton is going to show is the list of casualties on each for notable countries. You see right here, this is the population, but this is the total of people dead, and this is casualties. Look at Great Britain, over 1 million people dead. Yes. Look at France, almost 2 million. Can you scroll down, please, Mr. Aton? Russia, who did not complete the war, who pulled out before the end of the war, almost 3 million, about almost 3 million people. The U.S., which came in later, towards the end, about more than 100,000 soldiers. Yes. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, Germany's partner in crime, almost 2 million people. Germany, almost 3 million. Turkey, over 2 million. So you count these numbers, you can kind of get an idea. This is in the number of millions of people. That's a loss of human resources. Go back to the slide again, please. So not to waste further time, we're going to go to a group assignment. So these are the directions. There will be groups of 3 or 4 students. Actually, I made them 4, but of course, there's some groups where you're going to have only 3 because there are students who, let's be frank, come to this class at all, or don't, or rarely come. We're going to create a peace treaty on a post-it poster. So I'm going to give you about 10 minutes or so, maybe a little bit over that, to create your own peace treaty. You're going to pick out one person. Then, after I give you enough time, you're going to pick out one person in your group. You're going to spend a minute um, in front of the class explaining the conditions of peace and how this would work. So while you're doing this peace treaty, I want you to consider this following issues. What will you do with the cost of war? Who's going to pay for it? What should be done with Germany's military? Should they be able to have a military? How should the size of the military be? And what should be done about Germany's colonial land and colonies? Should they keep them? Should they give them up? But these are not the only issues that you can think about. You can think about anything else that you want to put in the peace treaty. So, these are the groups. These are the roles you have to play. I'm going to keep it up there. So look at your name and find people to that's in your group right now for the next 2 to 3 minutes. Get to work. Once you get your groups done, I'm going to, Mr. Aton should give you the post-it poster. You're going to make your treaty. Use a marker to write on the post-it poster. Your peace treaty. You're going to each have roles. You're going to have your own role, and you're going to argue or talk together, discuss together what should be the peace treaty like. You have to be talking in the interest of the party that you're in. So please go get into your groups right now. Fireplace.
Alright guys, let's get into groups. So group one, Otto, come over here to Dennis's table. Catherine's here, so Marco's here in this group as well. And so for the next few minutes, come on over here. Alright, Ty, I have you get up. You come over here. Guys, let's please find our group member. So Ty, come over here. Huh? You haven't. Yeah. Josue, Yui, here. Mario, Jackie. Come on this way, please. Gerardo and Jackie, come on over here. And you guys are gonna be here. So I'm gonna give you the once you get to your profile, I'm gonna give you your post-it for the Okay, now to assign members in here. So,
yes,
okay.
combine.
Yes. bullet points.
I could do bullet points. Points.
So however you want to write it. It doesn't talk about
You won the war. What kind of condition you want to push upon Germany? If you're Germany, what kind of condition you wanted to make it as fair as to yourself as you could be? Try to find some common ground and see if the winners and losers can find some common ground.
I'll get you guys markers in a second. Okay, can I put it back to the
Yes.
review slide? Okay. It's gonna be really expensive to rebuild, right? So who's gonna pay? Who's gonna pay for rebuilding? Well, talk to Germany about it. I not agree to that.
How should things should be paid? How should Germany accept it?
Here's some markers if you guys want. Yeah. Anyone else need paper?
Okay, write it down. Germany. Answer that.
Um, so you guys can go through and answer these questions.
Writing bullet points on the post-it poster. We could skip for the presentation. I'll just ask ask the groups to like explain. You don't need to be in the front. Save some time. We can switch, we can change that. You don't need to talk in the front.
Guys, I'm gonna switch the slide back for a second. Make sure you know which country you're playing. Which side you're playing.